Hi everybody, it's Lou Manfredini, Ace's home expert, and welcome to our Homeowner 101 YouTube presentation. The whole idea of this evening is for me to help you with anything you have going on around your home, and you can actually post the question right here to my left. As you're looking at the screen, that would be to your right. And I've got an associate of mine, Dave, who's going to read those questions, and I may be able to illustrate something, or I might be able to find something behind me to help you out. You know, as September 1st is arrived, there may be a lot of projects that you have going on around your home that you need to get done before the winter, depending on where you live. I know when I say that to people that live in the warmer climates, they say, hey, I've got a lot of summer living left to do. But for many of us, you know, we're starting to think about fall lawn care. If you have any questions about that, maybe the lawn isn't looking the best that it's looked during the season. A lot of times towards the tail end of summer, there can be problems with the lawn, whether it's an issue with a fungus or weeds taking over. It's not too late to treat that. And if you have some questions about it, I certainly can point you in the right direction and ultimately head you on over to your local neighborhood Ace store where they can get you the products that you need. So all you need to do is post that question. We will answer those. We're going to spend an hour with you this evening, and anything that we can help you with today as you're watching this broadcast, we're happy to do it. And Dave will just raise his hand once he has a question, or Allison. Actually, you can't see. There's actually two people back there. Who would like to read the question?
I'll read the question, Lou.
All right, that's Allison. It's not, it's Dave. Go ahead, Dave.
All right, Tony asks, my tankless hot water heater with recirculating pump is no longer delivering hot water without running the water for more than 5 minutes. Thoughts?
Well, I mean, I guess my first thought would be with the recirculating pump on your system, a faulty pump, there could be an airlock going on inside the tank as well that's causing that pump not to work. Here's what I would do. Unplug the recirculating pump on the water heater, and I would drain that tank a little bit from the bottom, maybe just a couple of gallons or so. With the water supply that you have on the top, I'd shut that off, open up the valve on the bottom, and you may have to pull the overflow that is on the side of it, the pressure relief valve, to get some air inside there, and then close it back up, fill it back up, and see if that pump then activates again. If you're noticing that it's still not working, then obviously my next thing would be that the recirculating pump itself probably needs to be replaced. Okay, so that's how it works. You just have to post those questions right to my left or your right as you look at the screen. Dave has another question he's going to read.
Okay, Windy City.
Wait 1 second before you read. I really need to see the hands go up, okay? Just like we're in school, because our cameraman Greg here is kind of blocking. There we go.
Okay.
We'd like to call on you, Dave. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thanks for calling on me. Windy City Stig asks, how can I winterize an old home?
How can I winterize an old home? Okay, couple things. You know, remember that your windows and your doors are the areas of greatest loss. So, I don't know, does that camera see that window way over there? No, not really. Doesn't see. There's a window over there, trust me. And that window is where you're losing most of the heat and the cooling. And those are the areas that I would concentrate on. Now, simple things. There's a great removable caulking that you can apply to a window called Zip Away. It's a clear caulking. I think it's by Red Devil. And you put it into a caulk gun and you squeeze it around all those joints. Eliminating those drafts in those drafty windows can improve the energy efficiency of that opening by up to 70%. It's true. The same is true of outlets and switch plates that are on outside walls. If you go and put your hand by there when it's cold outside and you can feel a draft, there are these insulation gaskets that you can buy at the hardware store. You pull off the front piece of trim, you know, the trim plate on there, put that over the top of it and then screw it back on. It will eliminate the draft. Another thing to look at is where the baseboards are. That can be a drafty area as well. Clear caulking there, not the removable kind, but actually clear caulking. You can buy some siliconized latex caulking, which is, when it goes on, it's white, but don't worry, as it dries, it turns clear, and you'll eliminate those drafts. One final thing. So if this is your home, your old home, right? And you've got an attic space like this, and this is your living space below, adding additional insulation up here, it's like wearing a hat in the wintertime, right? More insulation up in an attic space and creating that top to hold more of the heat in there will definitely improve your overall comfort inside your home. Remember, when it comes to adding insulation in an attic, if you've got an overhang like this, we need to make sure that we're maintaining the ventilation coming up. So you don't want to stuff that in there. And if you have mushroom vents or a ridge vent here, make sure that that's maintained as well. As far as I'm concerned, there's never too much insulation in an attic, and there's never too much ventilation in an attic. So if you maintain both of those things, you should be able to winterize that old home and be more comfortable this winter. Another question?
Altanza asks, I moved into a new, to me, home. The yard had not been maintained. How can I reduce crabgrass and encourage new grass to grow as we head into winter?
You kind of sound a little like Yoda there. How do I stop the crabgrass from? No, I'm kidding. Here's what I would do. I would use a broad spectrum weed and feed. Even now in the fall, it's okay. So you can go to the hardware store. Scott's, as well as the Ace brand, has a weed and feed, which is a broad spectrum weed killer, meaning that crabgrass, has the wide blades. You'll put that down based on the instructions on the bag itself, and it will help to eliminate those broad weeds. Now, once you do that, this is kind of a couple of steps I want you to do because we're in fall, right? Go ahead and put that weed and feed down the next couple of days. Give it a couple of weeks. Water it, or depending on where you live, if you get some rain, that's great. Then I want you to, depending on the size of your lawn, either rent a lawn rake or get a lawn rake and start raking that up. All that dead thatch and weeds are going to come up, and once that all comes up and you're like 2 weeks out, week 3, go ahead and do some fall seeding. This is a great way to establish some new grass growth before winter comes, and it will go dormant when the weather gets colder, but it's going to bounce back sooner in the springtime. And then you want to stay ahead of it too. In the spring, you're going to add another broadleaf weed and feed right out of the box to control it and do more seeding. Another question?
Jonathan asks, what's the best way to paint to avoid marks from the roller?
So those are called rope marks. And the biggest challenge when it comes to doing that is that people don't put enough paint on the roller. Remember, when you're rolling paint onto a wall, you're not trying to push it on there. You're just trying to gently roll it as the paint comes off of that roller. I would definitely start with a 3/8 inch nap roller. One of the people tonight that you're not going to see on camera, she loves doing the W pattern when she paints. And I don't really care if it's a W, if it's an M, if it's an X, if it's a Z, doesn't really matter. But the whole idea is that you want to go ahead and roll that out with enough paint on the roller, step back. It's a really good idea to have a bright light shining across the wall as well, because then you'll see, and then you can even it all out and work in small sections, one end to the other, and if you take your time, you will paint like a pro. Yes, sir.
Joe asks, can I plant grass seed this month? I live in Lower Michigan.
100%. You absolutely can. I would rake it first. I mean, we're in September, Lower Michigan in the Midwest here. You've got at least probably 6 weeks, if not 8 weeks, of soil temperatures above 50 degrees. That's the key when it comes to grass seed, is that we need the soil temperatures to be above 50 degrees to germinate. And definitely consider a seed that's going to develop a deep root growth. A lot of people this time of year will go to a rye grass seed because it's very quick to germinate and to grow. But the thing with ryegrass is it doesn't last that long. So in Lower Michigan, I would definitely try like a Kentucky bluegrass for your seeding. So that's how it works. Keep asking those questions, whatever they may be, right to my left here. I'm happy to answer any and all questions that you have. Go ahead.
All right, another question about lawn from Tom in Chicagoland. I have patches of weed, crabgrass, etc. Is it better to treat spots or treat the entire lawn? What would you recommend using?
It really all depends on the amount of weed damage that you have. Is it Tom? Was it Tom? Tom. Tom. Hi, Tom. So the thing is that, you know, I would say that if you're looking out at your lawn and the weeds are less than 20% of the area that you have a problem with, then I would definitely spot treat those areas. You can do that with a broad spectrum leaf killer. There's some that actually have a cone that you can place right over the weed and spray it and it'll kill that weed. Or you can pull it by hand. I mean, that's really the best way to do it. If it's more than 20%, then I would probably do a broad spectrum weed killer that doesn't kill the lawn. That's key. Make sure that you're doing something that is a weed killer for lawns, and you have to be very specific when you're buying that bag. All right, be careful with that. Yes, sir.
Eric was actually just going to ask about what you're just going into, if you want to go into more detail, about is there a really good crabgrass preventer weed killer that is safe to use with lawns?
So yes, so it's actually within the Step 4 program that Scott's has. The Step 1 is a crabgrass preventer and feed, so it's a weed and feed. There's also Scott's Turf Builder, which is another brand under the Scott's brand. That also has weed control in it as well. So both of those products do a really nice job of controlling weeds, and they won't kill the lawn. Now keep in mind that, again, depending on where you live, the temperatures do matter when it comes to the effectiveness of all this. So as long as we're still in the 70s, high 60s, and the prognosis of where you live is the next 3 weeks or so with those temperatures, then I have no problem with you whatsoever trying one of those products. Yes, sir.
All right, now we have a question about a shower. BJ is getting a sewer smell coming from the shower drain. Is it okay to use the rubber one-way flow inserts into the drain line?
Well, okay, so with a tub drain, so first of all, hopefully you're not seeing any leaking anywhere, right? He did say tub drain, right?
Yes.
Tub drain?
Yes. Shower drain.
Shower drain?
Shower drain, yes.
All right. So here's my shower drain, right? Coming right here. And then it's coming down like this. And then at one point there's got to be a trap. And then it goes away like this. Okay? So I want you to make sure there's no leak anywhere, right? In other words, I don't know where this shower is. Is it in a basement? Is it on a second floor? If it's on a second floor, let's make sure we don't have any evidence of water leaking. What I would do first is shine a flashlight, okay, and down that drain and make sure that you see a little water right there, because I should have some water in this trap right here. If you look down in there and there's no water, maybe this shower drain is in a basement, so that's a concrete floor. If there's no water, you might have a separation or a crack in that trap, which is why you have the smell. Now, if you do see water there, the smell can actually be coming from the side walls of the drain above the trap. So what I would do there, I don't think I have that here, I'd pop the cover off of the shower drain, and I would use what's called a tube brush, and you're going to put it down in there, pour a little Pine Sol, and you're going to scrub the side walls of this to eliminate the gunk and debris that gets built up in a shower drain like that, and then rinse it clean. If you don't see water, and that is a drain in a basement, like a basement floor, then you probably need a plumber to come out and break up that bottom, which you're not going to be happy about. Yes, sir.
Cindy is asking another lawn question. Is there a lawn weed killer that can get rid of Japanese stillgrass?
Yeah, but it's going to kill some of the grass too. So if you can localize it, Ortho makes a broad spectrum concentrate that will kill that weed killer. It comes in a little green bottle about this big, and it is called Weed Be Gone. And it's a broad spectrum weed killer that you're going to mix into a pump sprayer and go right over the top of that and spray it. But it will kill a little bit of the lawn. Go ahead and rake that up, and a couple weeks later you can plant new grass seed in there. Yes, sir.
All right, and Bernadette is asking now, recently I've been getting brown patches and dead grass. Is there anything I could do besides reseeding? Why is this happening? Happened last year too.
Do you have a female dog? Because remember, female dogs kill the grass and male dogs kill the bushes. So I'm going to assume you don't have a dog, because that would have been the easy one. There is a fungus called brown patch, and maybe if it keeps coming back, that's what you have. If you go to the hardware store and ask them for a brown patch, it's not a weed killer, but it's a fungus killer, and I believe the brown patch is by it's either by Bonide, or it might be by, who's the other guy that makes the brown patch? Might be by Ortho too, but it's a specific fungus killer to place on the lawn that I bet if you kill, you know what, it's terrible to say, but it's like, you know how certain people get like a toe fungus and you can never get rid of it? That's what that brown patch is in your lawn. Good evening, everybody. Yes, sir.
All right, Judy from my home state, Wisconsin.
Hey, yeah, hey there.
Yeah, hey there.
Go Pack.
Go Pack, go.
Not
you
really,
know.
but go ahead.
All right. She says, I have a plastic sink in my laundry room with tough stains. I've tried several things to remove these stains. Any suggestions?
Yeah. So the plastic sinks, what happens with that, depending on what you use, and I know what you're talking about because I have the same kind of sink and I have the stains that I use it as a slop sink like you probably do for paint and whatnot. Here's what I would do. There's a really terrific cleaner called Crud Cutter, and it's with a K. So Crud Cutter, both words with a K. Spray that onto the base of the sink and let it sit there for like a half an hour, full strength. I also, in combination with that, at the hardware store, you're going to buy a nylon drill brush. So it's a brush that you're going to put on the end of a cordless drill, and you're going to put that right on top of there, and you're going to let the cordless drill and the scrub brush do all of the scrubbing. And you're going to spend some time on this, and it will get better. It will not be perfect, but it'll definitely be better. Crud Cutter, nylon bristled brush, and the end of a cordless drill, and you'll get some really good results. Yes, sir.
All right. Janet in New Mexico is asking, I live in a 100-year-old adobe house. I want to add a counter bar for workspace in the kitchen. What is the best way to hang the counter?
You want to hang the counter. Are we going to put some legs under the counter? Depending on what you're going to do. So if it's a real adobe home, then I'm going to assume that, did you say it's a 100-year-old?
100-year-old adobe
All right,
home.
so you've got, adobe stones as the wall, and if this is the wall and that's the floor, right, and there goes the house, right? You're going to take like a block of wood and you're going to mechanically fasten it to the adobe using what's called lags and shields. They're these lead anchors that you're going to drill into the adobe stones, and then you're going to use a washer, and however long the countertop is going to be, you're going to put a strip on that wall and fasten it to the wall. So, if it's 4 feet long, let's call it 6 feet long, you're going to put 4 fasteners in there and anchor that. So the key element here is that strip has to be secure. Then, whatever you decide to put as a counter, piece of quartz, piece of granite, whatever it might be, even a piece of laminate, that will rest on that board, and you'll screw the underside of the countertop there, and then you'll need some kind of legs to go to the floor, which you can make, you can buy. There are decorative legs in metal, wood, all different kinds of finishes that you want to support that. But the key is that the strip against the wall has to be secure. Yes?
All right, BB asks, how does one permanently seal a 4x8 foot pine or birch plywood sheet on the edges, so the edges never buckle apart from being in the rain?
Permanent is a permanent is a tough word, so I can't give you something that'll be forever. You'll have to do some sort of maintenance on there as well. And the problem with plywood is exactly what the term means. It's layer upon layer of plywood, and the glue and the compression that puts it all together doesn't last forever. And in particular, if we're talking about regular plywood, not a marine grade or an exterior grade plywood, it's the UV rays from the sun that will really tear it apart. If you want to try and preserve it as best you can, then what I would do is buy a small container of what's called Spar Varnish. And on that edge of the plywood, I want you to take a little bit of the Spar Varnish in a container like this, a container like this, and just pour a little bit of the Spar Varnish, like a half a cup, and then put an 1/8 of a cup of mineral spirits. I want you to thin the first layer of that, paint that onto the edge. The reason you're thinning that first part of the Spar Varnish is it's going to help the substrates of the spar go into the wood deeper because it's thinner. Then let that dry. Then go back over it with 2 full strength coats of Spar Varnish, and then every year inspect it and hit it again. Yes, sir.
Okay. Mitchell is asking about adding an...
Hey, wait. Can I ask something of all of you when you post a question? It's super helpful for me if I know where you're asking the question from. You don't have to give me your address, but if you're like in New Mexico, then it helps me like frame the answer for you. So it would just be helpful, and I'll be able to give you a better answer. All right, Mitchell.
Mitchell is asking about tips to install an AC duct booster for his 2nd-story room that's getting very hot.
The duct booster isn't going to do a thing. It's a waste of your money, so don't do it. Here's why. So for a 2nd floor, a couple things. If you've got a multi-floor home, what you have to remember is physics is against you, right? So here's my house, and this is my 2nd floor, and here's my staircase coming down. What's the name of the artist, the guy with the big, Bob Ross? I am no Bob Ross.
You are happy though.
I am happy. This is your 2nd floor. That staircase is a giant piece of ductwork, and all the cold air comes racing down the stairs. If you have a basement, the basement's the coldest room in the house. And so you have a couple of choices. If you have one furnace and one air conditioning unit in the home, then you've got, probably ductwork that comes from the floor on the 1st floor and probably ductwork that comes from the floor on the 2nd floor. Close all the vents on the 1st floor 50% to try and force more pressure to the 2nd floor. On really hot days, take a box fan, if you can, place it at the bottom of the stairs, blowing air up. Just put it on low. All I'm trying to do is create some pressure to keep that cold air from falling down. The other thing is, can I finish with this question before you go raising your hand? You're very bossy and I wish people could see you. So then what I want you to do is, see, now I lost my train of thought. Then I want you to take your thermostat, okay? There's a switch on the bottom here that's, that says heat and cool. One of them says auto, the other one says fan on. When the temperatures are more than 85 degrees, put it to fan on. Let that fan run 24/7. What that's going to do is going to circulate the colder air on the bottom through the cold air return and get more air up top. And the condensing unit, the big unit outside with the fan, right? that's going to run less. That's where all the energy is being spent. Now, after that whole explanation, maybe you already tried all this and you're like, hey buddy, I need some kind of supplemental air conditioning up there and you're not helping me out. Okay, there is a system called a split system, or what's called ductless air conditioning. And if you've been to a restaurant lately or you've traveled overseas, you know, years ago, you may have seen these units. These are these cartridges that they're very popular in Europe. They're up high like this, and it's a small plastic cartridge, and there's a condensing unit on the outside of the home. What I love about these is there's no ductwork whatsoever. They're super quiet. They're super efficient. And so if you have a room or a couple of rooms, this is a professionally installed item, and they can be installed starting at around $3,000 depending on where you live. And probably the number's more like 4,500, but it's a permanent solution. And what I like about them is I've got this hot room in the house. No matter what I do, I can't get it cool enough. Well, what do? You lower the thermostat in the rest of the home, the rest of the house freezing, just to make that room a little bit more comfortable. Spending that money to localize the comfort in a room makes a world of difference. That was a long answer. Yes?
Very detailed though, and I think they
Thank you very much.
I learned a lot on that one actually. Chris is asking about insulation. He's adding insulation to his attic in a house that was built in 1958. And he has coaxial wire, which I believe, you know, like the wire that goes from your antenna to your TV.
Right.
And he wants to know if it's safe to cover that with insulation. It's safe to lay open batt insulation is what he says, over those wires without any chance of fire.
Yeah, coax cable, the antenna, there's really no heat source there. That wire doesn't get warm. It's more of a signal that goes through there, so it's perfectly safe to cover that. If you're gonna add insulation to the attic though, I'll tell you that instead of adding batt insulation, I think I would add like a loose fill blown in cellulose. This is something that many times, it's not something ACE sells, but if you go to a home center or a supplier, they will, you can rent a machine also and it's a two-person job. Someone has to load the machine on the ground, and there's a giant hose that you bring up to the attic, and then you spray that attic space to fill it. Earlier I talked about that you need to maintain the ventilation up in that attic space as well. But what I like about the loose fill insulation is you get better coverage, more even coverage. And depending on where you live, you know, if you add another 6 to 8 inches of insulation, you can add almost an additional 20 R value to the attic space on top of what you have. You don't need to clear all that stuff out of there, and you don't have to worry about the coaxial cable whatsoever. Okay. I need to stop talking because I need to take a little break and drink some water, and now's the time when I get my foot massage, and I'm just kidding. But I have been talking about, if you follow Ace Hardware at all on Instagram, or you go to acehardware.com, you'll see that we're a really good partner of a company called Eagle, and with fall just approaching ever so closely, they have a great line of tools to help you, well, keep your home looking its best. You'll see what I mean. Take a look.
Introducing our best blade yet. Exclusive Tough Track tooth design delivers accurate tracking over the life of the blade for a smooth, true cut. Again and again, keeps on tracking.
Welcome back. Lou Manfredini, Homeowner 101, sponsored by Ace Hardware. Ace is the helpful place, in case you didn't know that. You know, something I want you to know that, you know, Ace Hardware stores are independently owned. We have over 5,500 stores in the U.S. We pride ourselves on the fact that just about everybody lives within 5 miles of an Ace Hardware store. And so if you need any kind of help, we can certainly give you the best we possibly can. We've got some terrific associates, some great owners that are dedicated to their communities and will help any way that we possibly can. So just stop by your local Ace Hardware store, and of course you can always find a ton of information on our website, acehardware.com. But today it's all about you asking questions about things that you have going on around your home, whether it's fall cleanup, trying to get the home more energy efficient as winter approaches, or really any kind of question that you have. I'm an actual former home builder and remodeling contractor. I've hosted a home improvement radio show for 26 years, a syndicated TV show that's known as House Smarts that we're just trying to help people any way that we possibly can. So I don't know everything, but I know a few things. And my wife and I also happen to be Ace retailers, and so we're there helping people on the front lines every single day. All right, let's go back to the questions and see what we can do to help people out.
Okay, Loretta is asking about her InSinkerator. Right now she has a 5.5 horsepower disposal, and she wants to know if she can upgrade.
5.5 horsepower? No, she doesn't.
That's what she's claiming here.
Really?
Yeah.
What is it, the size of a Buick?
And she wants to know, it says a Badger. I don't know if that's a product name.
She has a Badger 5, which is a 1/3 of a horsepower disposal. Keep going.
Okay. And she wants to know if she can go up to the, I guess it would be the 3/4 horsepower.
Yeah, yeah. Wait, what is the lady's name?
Loretta.
Loretta. Loretta has a disposal that you could put a Tyrannosaurus Rex down inside of, a 5.5
I believe
horsepower.
I misread that, so
right.
let's not pick on that.
So Loretta, beautiful name. Yes, so the Badger 5 InSinkerator is kind of the workhorse of the line that they have. It's really, honestly, I don't know why you would need a bigger one, but if you want a bigger one, you can. The bigger unit, the 3/4 horse, it's a larger motor, and you know, if you're someone that uses a disposal a lot, sure, you absolutely can go. You probably will have to replace the collar in the sink as well. It might go onto the Badger 5, but I doubt it. And then you'll replace that collar and put the larger unit on. Keep in mind that you need to make sure you have enough space, because the 3/4 horsepower unit is taller, so you just want to make sure that it fits inside your sink base. But so here's the thing. I'm not personally a huge fan of the disposal, because I think people misuse them. It's really designed for crumbs and things that you don't, go into the garbage can, which is why a Badger 5 is plenty big. If you're a restaurant, then go 3/4. But for just home, stick with the Badger 5.
Okay. Leon from Illinois is asking, what's the best wood to build a deck with? Plus, what's the best grade?
These days, we've all heard the story about the price of lumber and how expensive everything is. It's funny that the synthetics are within the same price point as some of the treated lumber that you would buy. So I'm going to give you like a range of products so that you understand, maybe help you to make a better choice. So treated lumber is in the old days, was the least expensive wood you can use before lumber prices got really high. But number 2 or better is what you're looking for, construction grade on this. And when it comes to treated decking, so the frame, regardless of what you're going to use for the decking, the frame is probably going to be made out of southern yellow pine treated decking. So the 2x6s, the 2x8s, whatever the local codes require you to make the framing of it. Then the top part of it, if you wanted to go with treated lumber, you would do something like a 5/4 round edge decking, and you would look for kiln dried decking. This is key. A lot of the cheaper lumber, if you go to some of the big home centers, they'll be like, wow, this lumber's really cheap. And then when you go to cut it with a saw, it literally drips because it's soaking wet. And then you build the deck and it sits out in the sun and it starts to warp and check, and your brand new deck within 6 months looks terrible. So if you're going to do treated decking, it needs to be 5/4 round edge decking. Okay, then up from there, if we're sticking with wood, you certainly can go with cedar, but if you're going to consider cedar, I'd rather you do redwood. They no longer make redwood in 5/4 round edge decking, but they still make 2x6s. And you know, a late friend of mine who was the king of the redwood industry used to say that if you took a chunk of redwood and a chunk of steel of the same dimension and you put them outside, in 100 years, the piece of redwood would still be there and the steel would be gone. And that is true. That lumber has been around forever, and it's just really, really a terrific choice. The synthetics have come a long way, whether we're talking about a product like TimberTech or Trex. These are not maintenance-free, but they're low maintenance, and you can really find some pretty good deals out there. There's even a PVC product called Azek, which is 100% PVC. It's almost like plumbing pipe, comes in a bunch of different colors, and could be a really good choice. You will find that the synthetics right now are comparably priced to the wood, and so you just have to ask yourself how much money you want to spend, and ultimately, what are you looking for the deck to look like when you're done? Yes, sir.
Okay, so Karen in San Jose, California is looking for an eco-friendly window cleaner that she can use on both windows and solar panels.
I got it. So go to your Ace in San Jose. I happen to know you have a couple of good ones up there. The Hassett brothers own a couple stores up in San Jose. And ask them about E-Cloth. E-Cloth is a refined microfiber towel system, and you use water. That's it. So they make a 2-pack window washing kit. This is how I wash the windows at our own home. And as a matter of fact, I was doing this last night. It's a whole crazy story, but my wife loves clean windows. And let me tell you, the reason I've been married 31 years is I want to keep that lady happy. So I went out and I took the microfiber E-Cloth in warm water, and I put it in there, and then you wash the window just with this cloth. Then you take their polishing cloth and you come back in and you polish the glass. That glass is going to shine like the top of the Chrysler building. Anybody? Anybody? Musical? Annie. Thank you, Jim. And so it's going to be so shiny, you're going to do it inside and out, and you can do the solar panels as well. Hot water, 2-pad, E-Cloth, you're good to go.
Okay, Mary is asking about a crawl space cover. She says cable and AC hose run from the corner that made a hole and make unwanted animals get in. How to close those gaps?
So the lines are going through, so you've got like a bigger hole where the lines are going through. Let's try, have you heard of a product called Great Stuff? But they make a Great Stuff that has a rodent repellent built into it. So regular Great Stuff is an expanding foam, but rodents will chew into that and eventually make their way. This one has a additive in it that when they eat it, they don't like the flavor of it and they go away. So look for the Great Stuff expandable foam at your Ace that has the rodent side repellent inside of it, and that should work. Yes, sir.
Okay. Daniel wants to know the best ways to hang a 15-pound mirror picture frame that has round metal brackets on the back.
So I'm going to assume if I'm looking at the back of the picture frame like this, right? You've got these two little rings, right? And that's what you're talking about, right? And they're hinged right here. They go up and down. Go to the hardware store and get some airline cable, the hanging cable wire, and you're going to tie the cable here, and you're going to come around to this ring, and then you come back again, and you're going to do 3 times, and then tie it. And you're going to make it nice and tight because you're going to hang it in the center. Now, in a perfect world, 15 pounds isn't that heavy. It is when you lift it up, but In a perfect world, I'd love for you to hang it and find the framing under the wall, right, to put that hanger in the middle of it. But at our stores, we sell a line of wall hangers called Wall Dog. And a wall dog is a hollow wall anchor. And I believe they have one that's 25 pounds, and I have one that even goes up to 50 pounds. And you don't need to find a stud. So get the 25 pounds, it'll be plenty. But do this cable trick between the two eyes. That way when you hang it, you can center it and go. Oh, one other thing. Depending on what's on the back of this mirror, sometimes when you do this, if people are going to hit it, you can scratch the wall. So buy a little package of the felt pads that you would put underneath a chair if you had hardwood floors, and get like a 7/8 of an inch or a 1-inch one, and stick it to the back of the mirror like that, so that when it's on the wall, the felt is going across the wall, not the back of the frame that could potentially scratch the wall. Yes, sir?
Okay. Chris in Illinois is asking, we get some mold in the corner of our bedroom and some right above our bedroom window. We only have one vent in our bedroom. It's a 12 by 14 room.
Well, so does the mold come near the vent, or is the mold a function of some kind of leak that's on the outside of this area where you are experiencing this? So we got to make sure that there's no leak. You said it's by a window.
Yeah, it says right above the window. I was just checking to see if he'd put anything else in there for you. But
So if it's right above a window, then my guess is there's some kind of flashing or caulk failure on the outside that needs to get addressed. And if it's a second floor, you may need to put a ladder up there and find out what's going on there, because if it's water coming in, that surface mold that you have there, and it's an exterior wall, there could be some damage inside the wall that you need to address, because the insulation can hold the mold there inside there, and then you can be breathing that in. In the interim, what I want you to get is a product called Concrobium Mold Control. Concrobium Mold Control is a very safe product. It's non-caustic, it's non-bleach, but it kills mold on contact. Spray that on the area where you have the mold, let it dry. And then when it's dry, then take a brush and brush it all away, spray it again, and then let that dry. It has residual value. If that mold comes back, then we know we have a leak. And if we have a leak, you may have to open up that wall to make sure that the damage isn't larger inside the wall.
okay, Chris from Los Angeles has a room air conditioner that's in the window, and he wants to know what he can use to seal or paint the wood that is inside the sill, holding the air conditioner in.
Well, I mean, if the air conditioner is sealed and not leaking and we just need to paint that, then all you need to do is buy a quart of trim paint. If you go to your Ace, you can find a quart of something called Clark & Kensington Designer White. I'm assuming it's white trim. Scrape any loose paint that's there, do a little light sanding around there, and you should be able to paint that no problem with that product. And it'll hold up, it'll dry. It doesn't matter that there's an air conditioner there, and it should do a really nice job for you. Just take your time, get a good brush.
Okay, and Tony from Raleigh, North Carolina.
Thank you, by the way, for telling me where you're from. See, we just answered a question in Los Angeles, then we come clear across the country with the magic of YouTube, and here we are in Raleigh, North Carolina.
And he's asking, does a 5-year-old deck does a 5-year-old have to be sanded prior to staining? It will be power washed with sufficient time to dry.
Yeah.
And is staining better than painting?
So this is the #1 step that everybody misses when it comes to refinishing your deck. What happens to wood when it sits outside, even 5 years old, you get this phenomenon called wood sheen. I mean, think about it, right? A tree has the bark to protect it. And then we cut that tree and we turn it into the lumber that we make decks out of. And then now we've exposed the meat of the wood to the weather that it normally is never exposed to. So to protect itself, it almost gets it almost petrifies at the surface. And so pressure washing cleans it, that's all good, but we need to open up those fibers, in particular the deck boards that are horizontal facing up to the sky. And you don't have to go crazy, but depending on the size of the deck, you could take a random orbit sander with a medium grit paper and just kind of quickly come across it just to open up those fibers, right? And you'll see that parts of the wood are a little shiny. Get rid of that shine. Then sweep it off, allow it to dry as you just mentioned, and then apply a semi-transparent deck stain. Remember, clear finishes on decks do not protect the wood. It's the sun that beats the heck out of the wood, not the rain. Everybody's always focused on, oh, I want to see the water bead, that's really cool. Well, okay, it's really cool. But I mean, if I send you outside on a 90-degree sunny day and you're not wearing any sunblock and you walk around, you'll be as red as a tomato. If I give you an umbrella and I cover you so the sun blocks you, you can walk around all day. You'll still be hot, but you won't burn. So that's the key. We don't want to ruin the wood with the sun. The semi-transparent deck stain is what sinks into the wood and preserves it for longer. That deck was a big investment. The little bit of staining, every 5 years or so, it's definitely worth it.
Okay, so we have Mr. Meth Bowen here in Burbank, Illinois, not Burbank, California. We have a bee in our bay window under the siding. I think he means a bee's nest under the siding. What do you recommend?
So I'm assuming it's a wasp and a bee. I don't want to, honeybees, all that kind of stuff. We don't want to ever eliminate those things nature-wise. But when it comes to wasps and you're worried about getting stung, this is important to eliminate. So there is foaming Hornet spray that you can buy. This is a 3-day proposition. So in the evening, we're the evening right now, we just have a few minutes left for our Homeowner 101 here, sponsored by ACE. Go under that area and spray where you see the bee's nest and count to 5. So you gotta be brave. You pull that trigger 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then run. And then come back tomorrow and do it again. And if you come back on the 3rd day and you see they're all gone, you don't have to do it again. But if you still see them there, one last time, 5 seconds, and you'll eliminate the problem. There'll be residual value, the foam envelops the nest, and the bees will go elsewhere.
Okay, Mary Ann is asking, how can I remove old liquid nails that has been on a plaster wall for over 50 years? Scraping didn't work and a heat gun hasn't worked. There's left over from when she removed wood paneling.
Yeah, so, it's not even, if it's 50 years old, it's not even liquid nails, it's probably a different kind of adhesive. But your only way to get rid of that is you have to sand it off. And you're gonna have to, I worry a little bit about the chemical makeup of that glue, and if you used a random orbit sander with pretty aggressive sandpaper, like a 60 grit, and you're gonna definitely wanna wear a mask because you don't wanna breathe that in, and just sand it until you get it smooth. You will end up damaging the wall a little bit, no matter how careful you are, so you'll probably have to go back and do a little light skim coat before you, I assume, ultimately paint the surface when you're done. But the only way you're gonna get that off now is to sand it off with aggressive paper.
Okay, Eric in Chicagoland has a question about his lawn. Should I aerate and dethatch the yard or just aerate?
I would do it both. In particular, if you're someone that mulches the lawn, meaning that you return the clippings back into the ground, that thatch can build up and and choke the lawn. And so, you know, you can dethatch the lawn, which will thin it out a little bit. I mean, I guess it's not super critical that you aerate in the fall, but you could aerate in the spring, which actually would be a better way to go. So I'm changing my mind mid-answer. Dethatch the lawn in the fall, aerate and dethatch one more time in the spring.
Okay, we have a follow-up to the Wasp question from before.
1 second. Can you turn my mic off so I can cough? See, you're welcome. Go ahead.
All right, so we have a follow-up to the Wasp question. Someone is asking if the Wasp spray can discolor siding.
I'm sorry? Does it discolor the siding?
Discolor the siding.
It will not. It will not. And what I would do once we eliminate the bee problem, spray it with a hose just to clean off any residue of it. That's it, but it won't discolor it. I've used it for years and have never had that problem.
Okay, Melissa has a question. What's the best grass seed for a yard with lots of pine trees?
Ooh, so you're looking for a dense shade grass seed. Now, I don't know, she doesn't say where she lives, right?
We're asking.
What?
We're asking.
Well, that would be helpful. We have a vendor that we deal with, a company out east, and they have distribution in the Northeast and in the Midwest and a little bit in the South, called Jonathan Green. And they make a dense shade grass seed called Black Beauty. If you have not been able to grow grass anywhere before, this will do it. However, the pine needles that fall on that lawn do change the pH of the soil. So what I want you to do, this is a product that's been in short supply this past year, but there's a product called Milorganite, which is a natural organic fertilizer. Put that down first. You can put it down right away, it won't burn the soil. Rake up any of those pine needles as well, and then put the Milorganite down, and then put this dense shade grass seed over it and water it, and you should probably see grass growing within the next 3 weeks.
Okay, our next question is from R. Lara Moore, and she or he is asking, can expanding foam be used to support an existing wobbly mailbox post in the lawn?
It cannot. Expanding foam, great stuff, is not designed for structural uses, although there is an expanding foam structural product that you can buy called Sika, S-I-K-A, and it's a two-part system that you break into itself in a bag, and then you pour it into the hole. But you're gonna wanna support with like some cross braces, and you may actually wanna dig out a little bit more so that you can get it down in there. When it hardens, it's not gonna move, and it's gonna come up out of the ground, and when it dries, you just take a saw or a sharp utility knife and cut it flush to the ground and grass seed over it. Sika is the name of the product, comes in a yellow bag. Most Ace stores do carry it.
Okay, Zoe wants to know the easiest way to remove wallpaper.
Hire somebody. Thank you, Zoe. No, so the easiest way to remove wallpaper, that is an oxymoron because removing wallpaper is not easy. You can buy something called a paper tiger, which is a tool that you hold in your hand and you race it across the wall, and it pokes little holes inside the wall. Then you're going to apply a wallpaper stripper, either a product called DIF, D-I-F, or another product called Chomp that will go into the wallpaper, those holes you just created, and you got to keep it wet. That's the key. You have to get it wet so that you can then take a scraper and scrape it away, and it's a lot of work. Budget enough time to do this. In other words, you know, get a good podcast going and spend an hour and then take a break, because depending on how big the room is, it'll drive you crazy. You can rent wallpaper steamers. It's like a giant pad that you put water in. It's almost like, you know, the steamers that you would use to iron your clothes, same kind of thing. And you put that on there and it heats the glue up and it's a little bit easier. But I think if you try the Paper Tiger and use one of those wallpaper stripper solutions that I mentioned, it's a lot of work, but you can get it done. And then you may have to go back and do a little skim coating on the wall because you're gonna dig in with the scraper as you're removing the wallpaper.
Okay, a couple more questions for you, Lou.
All right, couple more. We're almost out of time, but
Yep,
this has been a lot of fun.
It has. Robert in Lockport is asking the best way to get rid of voles from his yard.
Okay, voles are tough and they are ugly. And if you're a vole watching this right now, I'm not apologizing. So there's a couple of methods. There is a product called Bonide Sonic Spike. And this is a repellent. And it's a spike about this long that you put 3 or 4 C batteries in it, and you drive it into the ground where you see the holes from the voles or the tunnels that may be occurring. And you maybe want one of them works about a 30-foot diameter, and it chatters like a rodent in distress, and it scares them and runs them away. Those voles are eating the insects in your lawn. So you want to treat that lawn with a broad spectrum bug killer like Bear 24-hour kill on the lawn as well, because you got to eliminate the bugs. And if you're in this area, there's probably cicadas in there, which is what they're really eating, and it's like an old country buffet right now. They can't get enough of it. That's one way. There's also a product called Sweeney's Poison Peanuts, but you got to be very careful with that if you have pets or small children, because it's exactly what it is. They're poison peanuts. You have 2 choices there. You make the choice. I'm just making the suggestion on how you want to control the problem. Last one?
Last one, and it comes from Betty. She is asking what kind
Betty
of...
White?
Darn
it.
No,
that
Betty
would really,
Ahmad.
if I could help the great Betty White, that would be something. Let's just pretend it's Betty White.
Okay, well, Betty White is asking, what kind of paint can I use for a new cement block interior wall?
New cement block interior wall. Well, okay, so if it's an interior wall, meaning that we're not going to get any water on there, you could use any acrylic interior paint, whether it's Benjamin Moore, Clark & Kensington, it doesn't really matter. If you want something specifically designed for masonry, and it can be tinted as well, there's a product called Dry Lock that you can use on those walls, and it will soak in and really hang on. But if it's an interior wall where on both sides there's nothing going on, any interior latex will do just fine based on those 2 recommendations that I had. This has been really fun. Am I wrapping this up? This has been really fun. Thank you so much for posting all of your questions. Remember that your local neighborhood Ace store is right around the corner, so anything that you may need, stop in and just ask. If you need more information, you can always go to our website, acehardware.com. And I don't have to tell you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, because you already are. Have a great month of September, everybody. Remember to be good and kind to everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.